It's a concerning time for the Conservative Party, for the Labour Party, for all of them, because they'll all look at that map. And I know we talk about Labour being in government and those Labour seats, especially with ministers being, kind of softened up, if you like, in this poll and looking like Reform would be able to take them. The thing that doesn't estimate and that polling never estimates is the ability of that political party to win that. There are people there willing to vote for them, but whether they can manage a ground operation to do that's a different question. Now, the big concern that I'd be looking at the Labour Party, and I mean, obviously that's aside from my own principles and issues with the Reform Party, is the fact that those seats will be the primary target rather than the Conservative ones. So if they can try and do a deal with the Conservatives, I don't think Nigel Farage will be willing to sit down with the Tories as of yet. I think he sees that momentum's on his side. Why would he go and meet with Kenny Badenoch, who's, the one who's losing out at the moment, let's be honest. But it is a concerning time. It's a worrying time for people like myself, friends and family of mine who really, really couldn't be more opposed to what Reform UK stand for.
The trouble with that, though, is that a lot of Labour voters don't feel that way. A lot of Labour voters do want harder action on immigration. They want better action on the economy. And an astonishing point came out in this poll, James, was that when they were asked, voters in every single constituency in the entire United Kingdom, from the tip of Scotland to Land's End, when they were asked, do you think your finances will be better or worse off in the next year? Every constituency said they felt they would be worse off in the next year. It's the economy, stupid. It's that old line from Bill Clinton. And that really, really matters in Britain now. There's an emergency meeting going on as we speak, just finished, we're hearing, by the Labour Party. And we're hearing that's all about the perilous state of the economy. The Labour Party have got to do something sharpish about people feeling better off, or they're in big, big trouble.
They do, absolutely. And I think that is the threat. And the thing that we see happen over and over again, Martin, around the world, and you and I have our differences politically on this, but it's the extremes that win out when things are in dire straits and when people are in struggling, because people look for change and they look for opportunities to find somebody to blame for a scapegoat. And Reform UK are using what's been used very effectively in America by the Republicans under Donald Trump in looking at all the other issues. Their issues, I do not believe, are the sole cause of these problems. But if you do not believe that, then you need to mount the case for that and you need to win that back, because these are very simple solutions that they put out to very complex problems. To be able to blame multiculturalism, which, these people are just ideologically opposed to. Same with the AfD in Germany. But this movement is spreading across the world. It's not just America. It's not just Britain.
James, you're doing that thing that they always do on the left, and that is you're trying to make out that the party is racist or divisive. You're trying to say that Labour, that Reform are toxic on multiculturalism. They're saying the same about Donald Trump. People voted for Donald Trump. The polling is saying whatever you're saying about your own personal opinions of Nigel Farage and Reform, it's not affecting the electorate. They seem to want something different, and they're not getting the economic good news they want right now from the Labour Party. And call them racist all you like, it's not landing.
They want better news and they want a different direction. It doesn't stop the truth from being the case, though, Martin. I mean, in America, look at what we've seen. We saw Donald Trump promise to bring down grocery prices as a priority. All right, what's he doing? He's attacking trans people in government. What's that got to do with the price of groceries?
What he's doing is getting rid of DEI, which is wasting billions of dollars, and it's stopping people like you and I actually getting jobs.
DEI, you and I've never been stopped from getting a job by somebody, all right, because of DEI. That's not the case at all. We know it's not the case. It's people who, it's disguised homophobia. It's very veiled. It's very thinly disguised, by the way, because we know this, because look what Donald Trump's just done. My friends in America who are non-binary now apparently don't exist. That's absolute nonsense. And we saw
of course they exist.
Manifesto.
But
they
of
don't
course
exist.
They're not going to have a puff of smoke.
They are not
disappeared.
being recognised. As if a government does not recognise that they exist and they cannot put so on their passports, Reform UK said that it would.
No, they recognise them as the sex they were born under, which is the way of the world and the universe. And he was elected on this mandate. He's delivered on it, and the vast majority of Americans agree with it.
I do not doubt the electoral credentials, and that's what I'm worried about. I'm worried about people thinking that they have no other option because of failure of other politicians, and they have to go to extremes. And when they go to extremes, it is minorities and vulnerable people who are targeted by those and those movements on the far right that will lose out. And that's the big worry. We've got to get our act together on the left if we want to put forward an alternative vision that can try and win people back from those desperate other directions.
On that we can agree, and I think a good starting point would be to stop calling everybody you disagree with far right. I think that's the problem. You just did it there. They've done it in America. Sir Keir Starmer's done it, and that, I would put it to you, that is why the red wall is going turquoise, because people are sick of being called far right just for holding perfectly normal mainstream opinions. James Matthewson, that's what's happening.
Not calling people in the red wall far right at all. I'm calling people who are politicians who are far right, who say far right things. If you despise multiculturalism, if your main priority
despise multiculturalism,
right now
they've never ever said that anywhere, James.
If your main direction right now politically in the world that we live in is trans people, gay people, their rights, the rights of women,
it's a sideshow, but it's taken too much oxygen out of the room. That's the point. It's a sideshow. It's a tiny percentile of the population. People care about food on the table. They care about border control.
Oh, great. So we're happy to allow a tax on people because they're a small minority. When we get, what's the alternative? Oh, you can have better prices of eggs if trans people get persecuted. It's absolutely
They're not getting persecuted. They're just not allowed to go into women's changing rooms, play women's sports. Don't be silly.
If you do not recognise people's right to exist as they have done with non-binary people in America. That's what they've done. And that Reform UK's manifesto at the last election here said that it would tackle transgender ideology. There is no such thing as transgender ideology. A lot of people would agree with that. And
millions of people agree with that in America, and that's why they voted for huge change. James, we got off on a good footing, and we shall part friends. I'm being told we have to move on. James Mathewson, it was a pleasure to have your company. Thank you very much.